Hello everyone, welcome to another Power Talk with Archana. Today we are talking about the women in power. The first ever food editor of the Elle magazine India, food columnist, Wall Street Journal India, BBC Good Food, DNA and Good Homes to name a few. A celebrity chef raised in London, moved to India, married an Indian, is a mother of two handsome young boys. She raised the bar of Indian eating preferences by introducing chic European cooking back in early 90s as she brought forward the culture of salad bars. She celebrated the uniqueness of Indian cuisine as a food consultant with many multinational companies abroad, helping them set up novel food menus and use exquisite, forgotten local and international produce. A trendsetter known for coming up with youthful and trendy restaurants across the globe, her inclination towards research and development gave birth to Kay's Kitchen, a range of exquisite marmalades, sauces, and chutneys. She cornered the market by collating vendors from across India under one roof and helped them showcase their organic produce at the very famous Karen Anand's Whole Market, held in 8 cities across India. An award winner, an author of several cookbooks, host of several cookery shows, welcome the lady of the moment, celebrity chef Karen Anand. Hello, Karen. How are you doing?
Hey Archana, good. By the way, I'm not a celebrity chef, I must tell you. So I'm neither celebrity nor a chef. But the rest is correct.
We've always known you as a humble person, Karen. You've achieved so much. So very kind of you to have come by and agreeing to speak to my audience and my viewers and inspire them with your lovely journey. You plunged into this niche and splash space very early in life, which was being already ruled by the celebrity male chefs. How difficult was it for you to be there, stay there, and achieve a celebrity chef status for yourself?
Well, I say I'm not a chef, Archana, because I have never studied in a culinary school, or, I haven't slogged like a lot of chefs have for several years in hotel or restaurant kitchens. So my cooking is something which I've developed, which I've learned. Of course, I've done stints in great restaurants. By stints, I mean 2-3 weeks here and 2-3 weeks there to learn the ropes. But I've not actually had that grueling formation that a lot of chefs have. So I've learned on the job, as it were. Celebrity is another story. It came, and when I started in the mid-80s with really writing, and then I started a salad bar in Pune, and then I started a salad bar in Bombay. I tell people it was cowboy territory because it was, we did things because we wanted to do them. We didn't have business plans. There was no social media. Television was very, very limited to when I started Doordarshan. And then in the mid-90s, of course, Star TV, and you had all the other big channels. Mainly started with Star, which is where I had my 3 shows. So, I don't think I was competing with male chefs because I wasn't in their domain. I wasn't in a hotel and I wasn't in a restaurant. So not till I did my salad bar only late 80s, early 90s. And that too, I did it with somebody else. I just did the lunch offering. There was somebody else. It was a nightclub at night, So I was very lucky. I had a niche, you're absolutely right. I created a niche, not purposefully, it happened. And male chefs were very nice with me because I wasn't really competing with them. Maybe the competition came a little later when I had TV shows and they didn't. And, that is really luck. That is a question of personality. It's a question of being a presenter, which I had to learn. The first time I did something for the Good Food Guide, I remember the producer saying, "Oh my God, how are we going to do this?" Because I was just useless. I wasn't an actress. Madhu Jaffrey, for example, if you look at Madhu Jaffrey's success, it's because I think a lot of it, of course she's a great a great cook and puts it all down beautifully. But she is basically an actress, and so she had that presentation skill. So I had to develop it. And I think I did. I think, I did. I was good with words and I developed the skill. But you have to learn it, as you do with anything else. So I think a lot of male, female doesn't matter. To me, it's not a gender issue. I think a lot of people are not good presenters. And because they're not good presenters, then, they kind of find it resentful because they're great kitchen people, but they can't present. It's like writing. Not everyone is a good writer. That's my first love, and that's what I'm getting back to now. And so I think, I love writing, and I write about food and travel because that's what I know. I used to write about film in the early days, because that's what I was exposed to through my first marriage. So it's a niche, yes, I created it. I don't think there was anyone else in my niche. There was Sanjeev Kapoor doing Indian on television, wherever, I think Z or something. He was very clear. He had his niche. I had my niche. People like Rahul Akerka and A.D. Singh were doing catering and had their own restaurants and so on in Bombay. So we maybe came from similar backgrounds, but we were all doing very different things. Right. And I decided not to get into restaurants as Rahul and A.D. did. A.D. more of a kind of thinker, concept person. Rahul more as a chef, and as you know, Rahul also didn't study anything to do with food.
Anything.
In the US. So we all had our paths, and there was not much competition.
Great. It was all about creating. You've always been such an inspiration, Karen. You did make a place for yourself in something that was very new, and people welcomed you wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot of learning out there for everyone, especially during these times when people are finding it difficult to manage everything around them with the economic dent in the economy at the moment because of COVID-19. I think, when you could make a start and create a place for yourself, such a plush space, then why not today? We have the use of technology.
Yeah, amount of people doing YouTube channels. If you can't afford a YouTube channel, you can just go on WhatsApp and do your thing, and people are going to watch you. So in a way, it's a lot easier, but in a way, there are a lot of people out there also doing the same thing. So you have to find something that's different and see what you want to do. I spoke to someone the other day who does a type of, a community of Maharashtrian cooking. And I said to her, why don't you take that to another level? And she said, I really don't want to. She doesn't want to travel much. She doesn't want to work with her. She doesn't mind doing it as a pop-up, but she's really happy doing catering from home. So it really depends on also what you want. I'm genuinely an ambitious person, not for money. Yes. I'm an ambitious person for success. I love the idea that what I do is going to succeed, that other people are going to watch it and benefit from it, that if I inspire other people, great, along the way. If I help other people on the way, great. But yes, I have to say that I must be, I haven't analyzed it, but I must be ambitious in what I do. I'm obsessively a perfectionist, obsessively. I'm becoming worse and a bit manic as I grow older. Not quite, I don't adjust the towels every morning to meet the corners, but almost. So I realized that I've become worse and more manic because that's how I am at work. And I see it through my younger son, who sometimes irritates me because he is so manic and he is such a perfectionist. And I see where he gets it from, because we don't like failure. We don't like someone not doing as much as we put in to our work. So I sometimes wish he would relax, but I see where he gets it from. So I think it's very personal, Archa. There are a lot of women who come to me who say, I make this pickle, how can I make it into a bigger business? It's a lot of hard work. Are you willing to employ an accountant? Are you willing to employ somebody to do your FSSI and all your licensing? Are you willing to pay salaries even during something like COVID. It's
Yeah.
a lot of hard work, and a lot of them are not willing to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, which is perfectly fine, if you're not willing to do that, then you stick from doing it at home. You sell your little jars of something or your catering thing, something, and you get your cash and you live happily. Not a problem.
Right.
But I think with, as they say, with the higher you go, the more responsibility there is. And not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. Some people
Yeah.
are much better with the security of a job, knowing how much something you're going to get at the end of every month, and they're
Right.
not overly ambitious, and that's fine too.
Right.
And I
Great.
think
I
you have
think,
to
see,
recognize what kind of person you are.
very right, very right. I think that's wonderful what you said is I think ambition is the word, the catchword here. You need to be ambitious. You need to work relentlessly towards achieving your dream.
Yeah,
Just as your son, I have met him. I know he's a real warm, but yes, a very enterprising young boy,
he's very
really
driven. Yeah,
very hardworking. Yes, very driven. I remember when I was, my company was there in one of your markets. He was there at 12 midnight, even post that, setting up things,
yeah,
coordinating things. Of course,
yeah.
you need to have that passion and that drive and beat the odds. It's important to beat the odds, and that can only happen when you're ambitious and you want to get out of the situation you are currently in. We cannot sit and mourn over the current scenario. We need to move on, and that can happen only when you set goals for yourself. Stay
Sure.
ambitious, stay up, and keep doing what you want to do. Great. Thanks,
And you have
Karen.
to
Karen, that's
sacrifice a lot, Archana. You really do have to sacrifice a lot. I mentioned to someone the other day, the days when I was catering in Bombay. I had a catering company for 10 years in Bombay. I had 5 clients. This is after I finished at the salad bar in Bombay. I decided I couldn't continue it because I had 2 young children and I couldn't do this up and down to Pune, Bombay. So I said, rather than do everything half-heartedly, I would start a catering company and cater to the people I wanted to, the people I knew. But there were 5
Yeah.
companies. There were the Ruyas, there were the Mahindras, there was Sunita Pitambar. I did some Godrej parties, and I think, oh God, I can't remember now, it's so long ago. But I had about 4 or 5 big industrialists who liked my kind of food, because remember, European food was very new to India in those days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I had a lot of time to experiment and find alternatives. There was no imported, imported substance. There was no imported things in those days. Even
Right.
cheeses.
Right.
Cheese, if you remember, we had to get it from ship chandlers, and it was good because in a way it was a forerunner of the markets, because I learned and found out who was doing what in India, and
Yeah.
sourced from them. So when I had those, those things, those caterings in Bombay, I used to do my catering. I used to make sure everything was clean, because a lot of clients don't like it when you leave mess around, when people are misbehaving after parties. I didn't want my staff to be implicated at all. So I would be there, the
Right.
last person to close up. Of course,
Wow.
I had very good people with me, but still, the one time I wasn't there, there was a goof up, and I got to know much later. So then I just sort of made sure I was there at the beginning, I was there at the end, and of course during. And I used to then get in a car with a driver and come back in a Maruti van to Pune
My God.
at
My
6
God.
in the morning. I used to leave Bombay at 2 or 3 when the party was finished, the dinner was finished, and move back and get back into bed with the kids so that they would not realize that I was out. And,
Wow.
and they didn't really miss me because I was out
My
from the
God.
evening. I could have stayed on in Bombay and slept in, and, I had a flat in Bombay and slept in and gone later on. But these are the kind of things you have to do to keep the family going. Because I could have said, okay, the kids were looked after. I had a flat in Bombay. Let me sleep in. Let me go later on in the afternoon. But these are the kind of stupid things that you do because, you feel that you need to see your children in the morning.
Yeah. Wow, that's lovely. That's such a great, inspiring thing. See, viewers, I think these are things that we need to learn from, people who've really achieved a lot in their life. Look at the kind of dedication and the involvement in her project, and yet be very sure that her family doesn't miss her, to be there with her family before her children would wake up. I think this is amazing. She could have easily spent time in Mumbai, but she decides each time to travel all the way from Mumbai to Pune to make sure she was there for them before they would wake up. I think this is amazing. You've done a lot, Karen. You've been an international traveler, did your cookery shows, your market, your Karen Anand's Whole Foods market is amazing. Your K's kitchen is lovely. There's so much of juggling happening. So what is it that keeps you going? I mean, of course, we know you're an ambitious person. You are a perfectionist. What else makes you be on your toes all the time?
Good question. I don't stop to think, and COVID has sort of, in a way, given us time to think. No, I have to keep doing things. Archana, there's lots of things to do. I'm relaxing a bit more now. I do put my feet up more than I used to, but I think I have the personality that has to keep doing things. I'm not as manic as I used to. I don't wake up at 6 in the morning and think, what do I have to do? But I think I will always be busy. I don't think I'm the kind of person who enjoys, I enjoy going for a massage. I enjoy having my hair done. Yeah. I enjoy those things as well. But I think I've gone on to a bandwagon now and a treadmill that is very difficult to stop. So whether it's, writing, I've always wanted to get back to writing, and this COVID time has given me the opportunity now to get back to writing, which I want to do, and I should get back to doing books, because it's something I can do forever. It's something I can do till I drop dead. And, that's interesting for me. I got into events and into the markets, one, because I believed in them, and we kept seeing these things abroad and wondered, why didn't someone do it in India? But then a lot of people are doing events now. When we were doing markets, if you remember 7 years ago, nobody else was doing markets.
Nobody.
So now a lot of people have copied, or there were some organic markets. Ours is not purely organic, but there were some organic markets where people come for the sole purpose, I think in Bangalore, in Mumbai, in Delhi, for the sole purpose of selling vegetables and fruit. And those markets are usually 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. That's not what we do, as you know. Ours is more of an event. So when we did it, there was no one doing it. Now there are all sorts of flea markets and other markets. So I'm not saying people copied, but I think we were a forerunner. And I think a lot of people got the idea that, a market might be a good idea, whatever theme it was. So I did that because I felt I needed to lead a team, and I couldn't do everything on my own. I had been through this whole thing of catering where I had a staff and so on. And then I found as my children got older, I did it for 10 years. It does burn you out. And I found as I got older, I kept getting business in to feed the team, and I found that quite stressful. And so I stopped it after 10 years. And I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore because it was just too much pressure on me. And with the family. And so I then went into something, I had the cheese bazaar in Bombay. Then we had a delicatessen counter in the mid 90s. I think I still had my catering company then. So we had the deli counter in Bombay for a couple of years. Then we had branches of that. And then again, I think it was too before its time. I was living in Pune, and I found, had that happened today, you can get VC like this. We had proof of concept, and you can get investment, and of course the pressure is when you get equity in, people want you to then scale up immediately. So in those days, we could just say, look, it's too much for us, let's close it down. But now if you do it, of course, it's much easier. You can get money to scale up immediately, but then look what's happening to restaurants today. They're closing because the pressure on those restaurants is so high from investors that they can't possibly continue especially in India where no one is paying our salaries. They can't possibly continue for 3 months without being open. America, the same thing. A lot of restaurants are closing because they have no support. In the UK, it's not so bad yet because at least salaries are being paid, and in Western Europe, salaries are being paid. So along with the fact that things are easier today because you have social media, you have finance waiting, all of that, you have PEs waiting. There's a lot of pressure to perform and give back to those PEs every month. Now, when you have your own concern, as we do, if it didn't make money, you just said, okay, I'm not taking a salary for 2 months, it's fine.
Yeah.
But you can't afford to do that now because you have an investor to pay back. So there are other kind of, you know, as I said, it was cowboy territory in those days. I think it was still cowboy territory till the late 90s. People did things because they loved doing them, and we all scraped the money together and we did it. And I think maybe it's only about maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago that this whole thing became a big business. And then it changed, you know. So sometimes I regret that we didn't have those facilities 25, 30 years ago. But on the other hand, you know, I am not a huge business person. I've made myself understand certain things about the business because I feel I need to be informed. But by nature, I'm not a business person. So I think if you are a creative person, you have to have a business person with you to be able to sustain and sort things out for you.
Right. I think once we understand the purpose of our life, you know, there's nothing stopping us then. We just find our ways to make sure that we reach where we intended when we started our journey. I think, and of course, as you rightly said, today there are a lot of things they've been made easier for people. You get the equity part you spoke about, the technology part we spoke about. People are more welcoming because they have had this kind of exposure now. You know, I think it's quite different. And of course, as you said, if you have people from the realm of business community working in, you know, amalgamation with the entire process, I think it does speed up and scale up things much faster. Very right, Karen. Karen, tell me, you have inspired many, but who is it that inspires you? Very right.
Every day I read papers, I read books, and I think, oh, well, that's amazing. I mean, it's silly to compare yourself to, I don't know, Nelson Mandela or, you know, whatever, because we're all in different fields. We're all in different places in our lives. I read somewhere about Warren Buffett the other day, and that he started his journey after he was, I mean, his focus journey after he was 60. So that gives me a lot of credence because I sometimes feel people when they reach 60, 65 think it's a downward slope. And I think, you know, I've just turned 60 and I think it's, you feel very focused all of a sudden. The energy is not there as it used to be, but I think the focus is tremendous. So if I can do, well, a millionth of what Warren Buffett is doing, it would be great. But yeah, there are a lot of people who are doing great work in the humanitarian field, in the sustainability field, in my, you know, food field. So, you know, I don't think there's somebody I particularly looked up to as one person, but there's lots of people in different fields that I work around that I think have done great work. And yeah, that is inspiring.
So lovely to know. And I must tell you, you're a very glamorous 60. Absolutely. Great.
I wasn't 50, so thank you. Yes.
You're a lovely person to interact with, Karen. It's always been a pleasure speaking to you. So, I mean, is there anything that you want to maybe rewind, or you want maybe it wouldn't have happened, shouldn't have happened that way? Anything that you would want to change?
No, I mean, look, everyone, Archana, has ups and downs in life, and I've certainly had my downs. I think in the long run, they were. Of course, there's things that you think you should have done differently. Of course. If I look back, yes, I should have done that. I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I hurt this person by doing this or saying that, which wasn't intentional. I never do anything intentionally to hurt or to displease, but sometimes it happens along the way. So yeah, there are lots of things that I think maybe I should have done things a bit differently. Can't do anything about it now. There are other things that I shouldn't have done out of lack of knowledge, and that's because of business, that I think, okay, I should have done that business-wise a bit differently. Shouldn't have sold shares of my company. Shouldn't have worked with a certain person. Yes, those are decisions based on naivety, and I still am, I think. But I was very naive and very simple. And the person who took advantage, for example, actually called me simple. I didn't realize what he meant till a long time later.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, I do regret those things. But listen, what can we do? We hope it's a learning curve, and we hope that we've learned from it, and that we've come out a bit stronger. There are a lot of people, and in the light of what's happened this week, suicides and depression and people not being able to cope. I read somewhere the other day that the cases of depression in India are officially 15%, but unofficially over 30%. Unofficially over 30%. That's a lot. People get depressed because they can't cope, and this is what happens when there's a down in your life. Getting up out of it is more difficult. But I think, yeah, one should try and learn from one's experiences. Not so easy sometimes. And I think that's when people get into depression, and oh my God, what has happened to me, and can I cope with this? And so that is a very real problem. And when people can't cope, I mean, the boy recently who committed suicide, the actor, looked like everything was going for him. Looked like he's got films signed up and so and so. You never know. Anthony Bourdain, who committed suicide, great chef, great writer, great TV guy. Apparently he was quite a dark personality, but why did he do it? You never know. Was it a personal thing? Was it too much of, too stressful? Apparently he was, towards the end, traveling 200 days out of 365 a year on his shows. So everybody wants to be Anthony Bourdain, everybody wants to do these shows, but it's very stressful, So yeah, I mean, I think you just have to sort of plow ahead, try and get up when you're down, and there's going to be more hills and more valleys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you've taken many right decisions to see yourself and find yourself in the space you are today. You're a well-known personality and inspiration to many, and kudos to that. Great. Karen, tell me one thing. I mean, now that you've achieved so much, done so much, lived life to the full, been there internationally, traveled across, been a food consultant to so many multinational companies, did your salad bars, restaurants, cookery shows, books, so much. But today, after having achieved what you have, I mean, maybe on a Saturday morning at 11, what will people find Karen Anand doing?
Probably on a Saturday, pottering around in my garden. I don't work much on a Saturday. I try not to work on a Saturday because I'm actually quite tired on a Saturday now. It used to be Sunday, but now it's Saturday. I don't have the staying power. So I usually wake up late on a Saturday. I have a late breakfast. I potter around in my garden a lot on a Saturday. Wow. And then maybe I will go and have a massage, or maybe I will go and get a pedi or something like that on a Saturday afternoon. Maybe I will go to the tailor because I love doing my own clothes and looking at fabrics, and that's that all my little hobbies and my little me things. Maybe I'll have lunch with a girlfriend. I do that on a Saturday.
Wow, indulging. Wow, that's lovely indulgement. I'm very sure we all love it.
Work very hard.
Yes, absolutely. Love yourself. Absolutely great. Yeah. Karen, you are a wonderful cook. I know that for sure. Every one of us know. Tell me, who would you want to cook for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Who do I want to cook for me? Well, there are several. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I want somebody to cook for me, because I don't think personally, Archana, food is just about a dish. I think it's about an ambience. I think it's about. I wouldn't like somebody necessarily to come into my kitchen and cook for me. No. But I would love to go to somebody else's kitchen or somebody else's restaurant. And I think a meal outside that's magical, something on a beach, something looking at the ocean. And there are beautiful restaurants. I've been to lovely restaurants in Sydney like that, in France, in Italy. To me, it's more about magic, because honestly, I've been very fortunate and tasted some fantastic food over the last 30, 40 years. So I've been very, very lucky. So food is not, for me now, the number one. I love good food, of course, but it's not just the number one. For me, it's about the experience. So
Yeah.
it's about somebody cooking a paella on a beach in Spain, or sitting with your toes in the sand in a restaurant in
Wow.
Goa, eating a fish curry rice. It could be
Wow.
something very, very simple, but something very real and very
Yeah.
honest, and a nice glass of wine. I'm not looking for any Chateau Margaux sitting on the beach.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course it's wonderful sometimes to have a fine dining experience in a lovely restaurant in
Yeah.
France. I think France still does it better. Probably Japan does it very well, but I've not been to Japan. But France still does the fine dining thing really well. And
Wow.
occasionally, I think it's great to have that experience and that level of skilled food. I don't want them messing up my kitchen. I will happily go to a restaurant. They have experiences
Yeah.
now where you sit in the kitchen. I know the Ritz does it in Paris, where you sit in the kitchen. They give you a table in the kitchen, and they serve you from the kitchen. I don't know how
Wow.
great it is, but it's an experience. But yeah, for me, food is now more about experiences. There are some great chefs around the world, and that's what I would rather do, honestly, than have somebody cook for me in my kitchen.
Wow, you've actually literally sketched it for me. I can actually imagine myself indulging in something similar. It's lovely. I think it's amazing. Great, Anand. Lovely speaking to you, Karen. Give us your few, as we wind up this conversation, give me your,
Sure.
power words for the women or the men out there to make big in life and, keep pursuing their dreams and really come out of any kind of mental stress or economic stress that they are going through at the moment. Tell them, give them your inspiring words.
I think hard work, there's no substitute. I think a positive attitude. Please keep seeing the half glass of water full and not empty. I think there is a place for everybody. Everybody does something well. I think it's to identify what you do well, and to focus on that. I think a lot of the time people choose careers which don't suit them, and then they don't do well in that. They don't do well often. I don't believe totally in luck. Do you know what somebody told me luck stands for? It stands for labor under correct knowledge.
Wow.
That's very important. Labor under correct knowledge. So it doesn't
Wow.
come from, of course, there is, if you believe in spirituality and, divine interference and intervention, yes, it might be a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
But it is laboring under correct knowledge. If you are not cut out to be a restaurateur, don't pursue it. Pursue something else.
Yeah.
There is always a great job once you know what suits you and what you're good at. And everybody's good at something. Just find that one thing that you're good at.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen.
Most
Thanks a
welcome,
lot for
Archana.
coming on. Thanks a lot for coming on board. And we really loved interacting with you. Thanks a lot, Karen. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
That was Power Woman Karen Anand for you, the woman who doesn't stop at anything. It's all about your dreams. Never put off until tomorrow what you can do today. She talks about luck, labor under correct knowledge, and if you don't have it, acquire it. Stay ambitious, march forward, and don't live in your past experiences. Without formal background of culinary schools, Karen created a niche for herself with plush cookery shows and importing international produced spices and herbs to India, and started creating a space for herself when there was just one TV channel, DD National, running in India. Don't let the sun set over you. Keep working hard. There should nothing that should stop you. I wish you all the best and stay tuned for more.